When I first started using a camera, I had absolutely zero technical knowledge on what I was doing. I would very rarely get the exposure correctly, and when I did, the lighting would be terrible. I'm going to be discussing the essential basic things to know as a cinematographer in this video. The first giveaway to being an amateur is not having a correct exposure. If you aren't creating images that you're happy with, it's most likely not your camera. Take the time to learn shutter speed, aperture, and ISO and really understand them. I won't be going over them in this video simply because there's thousands of videos online explaining that, but I'll link some below that I think are helpful. You should know things like why use an ND filter, or what ISO to use in certain scenarios, or what aperture to use in certain scenarios. If you're binging a bunch of videos on YouTube right now about cinematography and don't know how to properly expose an image, then please pause this video right now and go binge a bunch of videos on how to expose properly. After learning the basics, you can dive into something like contrast ratios, which will really help wrap your head around lighting and exposure, but obviously that is a lot more advanced than learning exposure, which is essential first.
Action. And door.
Don't expect to learn these things right away because it took me so long to understand all these concepts, and it takes trial and error and rewatching videos trying to understand them, and hopefully you'll come to that aha moment, which I did at one point in my career. Lighting. I started as a videographer in high school where I would shoot event and corporate videos, and I remember I had no knowledge on lighting, and I would show up to an interview and turn on every single light in the room and shoot my interview like that. And now I kind of look back and cringe a little bit because obviously that's not how I approach things now, but I think this was such a crucial moment because it was a big stepping stone as a cinematographer. Funny enough, I used to hate lighting and get overwhelmed by it simply because I didn't understand it, but now that I've taken the time to actually learn and understand and experiment with lighting, it's now one of my favorite aspects as a DP. What's really helped me learn lighting is watching tons of videos online and actually going out and applying what I've learned to real world scenarios. If you don't get the results you want, keep trying and come back to that technique. It's about trial and error, and I'm also at that point where I'm trying to learn and experiment myself. Listening to the Wandering DP podcast or watching YouTube channels like Aperture or Indie Mogul are such great resources to learn the essential skill of lighting. I'll link those channels and those resources in the description. Notice what natural light is doing even when you're not on the job. Take in how sunlight is coming through your window and bouncing off all your walls, and just really start paying attention to lighting. Once you do that, you'll become obsessed. Sometimes I'll watch a movie and I can't even pay attention to the story because I'm constantly analyzing how things are lit, and sometimes I'll even walk into a location or a space and notice how the natural light is interacting with that space, and even think to myself how I would light that space as a cinematographer. Color correction and color grading. If you're up and coming in this day and age, I think it's essential to know at least the basics of color. Knowing how to read a waveform properly to tell if your image is balanced is crucial. The industry standard is DaVinci Resolve, which is free to download, and you basically get everything you need in the free version of that software. Now for me, I came over as a Premiere Pro user, so it was super overwhelming at first to switch over softwares, but I ended up liking DaVinci a lot better and it never really crashes. The color page can look very overwhelming at first, which is understandable, but I think it's essential to learn this skill because most likely when you're starting out, you won't have a colorist working on your stuff. I'll also link some videos in the description that I found helpful at the early stages of learning DaVinci that I'll link below in the description. Learning these technical things won't automatically make you a good cinematographer. It's not all about creating a beautiful looking images, although that's a huge part of it, but these are things that you need to know so you can just forget about them and focus on other really important aspects of the job. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more cinematography based content, then subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.